It Gets Real with Carenna. Each week, Carenna will discuss serious topics and is not shy to tell you how it is. On her show, she covers day-to-day situations and provides her opinion along with feedback from her listeners.
Welcome back to It Gets Real with Carenna, the podcast where truth meets transparency and transformation meets real life stories. I'm your host, Carenna Fields, and you already know this is the space where we talk purpose, healing, faith, relationships, growth, and becoming the version of yourself you know God is calling you to be. Now listen, today's episode is special because this isn't just a guest, this is family. Before I bring him on, I need y'all to understand the history here. Terence and I go way back, like Motor City Casino back. We're not new to this, we're true to this. We worked together for years, and from day one, there was always this divine connection. You know, that brother and sister energy where you don't have to force anything. That was us. We can go months without talking, and then we link up and pick up right where we left off. And as life happened, we watched each other evolve, heal, fall, get back up, and walk deeper into purpose. So this conversation you're about to hear isn't just an interview, it's a reunion. It's real, honest, and rooted in years of shared growth. Now, for those of you who may not know him, Terence Demien Harris is a poet, author, and producer whose work carries depth, emotion, and truth. He uses his gift of storytelling to help people reflect, heal, and reconnect with themselves. His words hit the heart. His creativity inspires transformation, and his presence brings a level of intentionality that you can feel through the microphone. And today, we're tapping into all of it. So get comfortable, get open, and get ready. Because today on It Gets Real with Carenna, it's about to get real with my friend, my brother, the incredible Terence Demien Harris. What's up, brother?
Man, and I'm glad you made mention of that history, because a lot of people, they do these type of podcasts and they just bring guests who they have, they don't have no knowledge of their history, but people need to know. We talking 16, 17, 18 years.
Ooh, it's been a long time.
It's been a long
I didn't even realize it's been that long.
And we've been talking about doing this for quite some time.
Yes.
And now is the time it's supposed to happen. We've been
Yes.
setting dates, things been coming up, but we finally said, no, let's make it happen and not make it happen. And now we here.
Now we here, y'all. I'm so excited. So let's just dive right into it. I want to know, Terence, what's the biggest difference you see in yourself from our Motor City days to now?
Oh, man, I think when I think about where I was in my life at that time, I was very depressed, very unsure of myself. Mm-hmm. And I knew I had talent that will enable me to touch many people. So I think the contrast between now and then is that, I'm more aware of who I am. I'm learning how to master emotions that at one time, more specifically during that time, were able to exert control over me. Mm-hmm. And I have this willingness to be the best version of me that I can possibly be.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And I think that's one of the stark differences between now and then.
Wow, so, that's amazing. Yeah. What season of life do you feel God pulled you out of the most?
What season of life do I think he pulled me out of the most? Oh, man. Any season where my own recklessness was the cause of my problems.
Wow.
Because, and you know me personally, we have a lot of personal conversations. I'll push the limits.
Yeah.
I'll push the limits. I'll go right to the edge, look over and see that it's a drop and take another step forward. So any season of my life where I've been my own worst enemy, God, more than any other time, has stood in and saved me from myself.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah.
And what I could say about you is that, like, just going back into, how deep our friendship really is. Like, you've seen me go through a lot as well. And I mean, when I was at my lowest, it's been times where you motivated me so much. And even when you were going through your own storm. So what are some ways that allowed you to, like, keep motivating others while battling your own storms?
Well, one thing I was always mindful of, sis, is I knew the power of my voice. I always knew I had a voice. And this is what I tell people, everybody has a voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody has a voice that people respond to.
Wow.
I've always had a voice that people responded to. And I think in large part because whatever I was saying, number one, I believed it. So if I told you, since you go make it, for one, I really believed it. And number two, I can't separate my passion from my words.
Wow.
So I just can't say something because it sounds appropriate, because it's just the right thing to say at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I have to believe it. And because I believe it, my passion comes through with it, which makes it that much more relevant, which makes it that much more impactful to the person who's on the listening end of what I have to say. And it's still that way. It's still that way now.
Yeah, you haven't changed at all.
No.
It's
Grown in a lot of areas, but that voice of mine, if I would like to think I came out the womb talking rather than crying. Like,
I think you did too.
Probably so, because that, and I think that's what enabled me to give encouragement at times when I probably needed it more than the person I was encouraging.
Wow. And then it's like looking back on those times where we were in Motor City Casino and we were like, y'all, we was depressed. Like, we did not want to be there. Like, when you're a creative by nature, it's just hard for you to just be standing somewhere all day long. We did security, y'all. So we just standing there all day long. Just nothing to do.
Figuring out. And every time we would get a chance to talk, the conversation was never centered on what was going on in that place.
Nope.
It was always centered around what we should be doing outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we could even touch on it, because you and I both, just to touch on the health aspect, we were both unhealthy.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
We were both unhealthy, mentally,
physically.
We were at our largest,
Yep.
And so we just knew that there was something in us that was much greater than that casino that was contained in that thing.
Yes, always said I felt like a robot. Like every day it was the same. Like it was like you push a button and you got to do this, you got to do that, but it's nothing different. And when I met you, like the divine connection was so strong. It was like he has an ambition to really get out of here. Other people laughed at my goals, but you really was like, this woman, she going somewhere. Like, and even when I talk to you, I'm like, he going somewhere. But at the time, we couldn't get out of that predicament that we were in. We just had to do what we had to do. Yeah. And like you said, years down the line, it's been 5 years since I've been gone from Motor City. How long has it been gone for you?
I got fired.
God did it.
I got fired. And let me tell you, this is what I've learned. I think that was 20. No. It was 20. I think my brother was killed in 2010. I think it was 26. No. I think it was maybe 2015, 2016. But this is what I've learned, sis. When change is inevitable, it'll take you by the hand or it'll take you by the throat.
Wow.
But one thing about change, and I've learned this, I'm 42 years old. One thing about change, when that taxi pulls up and honks that horn and says it's time to go, you will leave with it. When that train pull up and say it's time, all aboard, whether you want to go or not,
you going.
It'll take you by the hand, it'll take you by the throat, it'll drag you, it'll pull you. And that's what happened at Motor City. And we don't want to talk too much.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? We
But
for a lot of people,
we just have to let them know where the root started,
that was their life.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it got no better than that.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't picture themselves making any more money, making more money than they was making there. The insurance, it wasn't. It as depressing as the job was. It wasn't the most difficult job, but like you say, for us who are creatives, we're always in our head, which made it miserable for us, as convenient as it was.
Yes. And,
so yeah.
And this is the last thing we're going to talk about when it comes to our old job, Motor City. But I just want to say, for the people out there who are creatives and they feel stuck like we felt years ago, what are some encouraging words for them to get them started?
I will say this, and it's just the harsh reality. There's no soft approach towards this. There's nothing. What you outgrow can only contain you for so long. What you outgrow can only hold you for so long. And the thing is, when we find ourselves in them boxes, either you will step out of it or it will give you up. It will spew you out. When you in those confined spaces, you have a choice to either step out of it willingly or allow for it to spew you out. Now, if you step out of it willingly, there's a degree of control you still have. But if you allow for it to spew you out, you know what I'm saying? You don't know where you go land, but you have the faith in knowing that if this is God's will, you're going to be all right. So step out of it on your own or allow for it to spew you out. But either way, when you outgrown something.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
Spew you out. But either way, when you outgrown something like that, it can only hold you for so long.
Wow. So our main topic today is healing. We didn't really specify like what part of healing, what area, but it's just like a broad healing subject. And this is going to be turned into a series. So this is not going to be the last time that you see us today or hear us together. This is going to be a duo. So y'all, this is just the beginning. So get ready. But what I want to ask T is, what does healing look like for you?
Oh man, healing. And this answer may surprise the people who are watching, but it's ugly. It's ugly. And I'll tell you why. Because when you purpose within your heart to heal, and people need to know, just as a sidebar, these are conversations me and you have
all the time.
This is not just for TikTok. These are conversations you and I had and decide, look, other people need to listen in on this. But healing is ugly. When you decide, when you make a conscious and decided effort to heal, prepare to see a side of yourself, prepare to see sides of yourself that you were never aware of. Because what I've learned is that healing involves you seeing yourself at your worst.
It's powerful.
You have to see yourself at your worst, and you have to hate who you are in order to embrace who you're becoming. So healing for me is ugly. I ain't gonna lie. There was a period of time until I had a friend of mine correct me, it's lonely.
It is lonely.
It's very lonely.
Very.
Because, and I understand why people avoid it so much. And I understand why people use vices and things as a sedative because, at this point, you're confronting you.
Yes.
And not only do you realize you're your greatest challenge, you have nothing to hide behind. There's no vices. For the guys, there's no women. For the women, there's no men to hide behind.
No.
You have to literally get up every day and see you in your most rawest form.
And that's tough. I'm not even gonna lie. Like when I was going through, like you said, we don't have nothing to hide behind. Like I was smoking weed. I was overeating. I was having sex that I shouldn't have been having. Wasn't even enjoying it. But I was fighting a battle that I didn't even know I was fighting until I actually came out of it. And like you said, it's lonely. You be wanting to call people that you don't even supposed to be talking to. And until you get by yourself and understand that, the battle is with yourself. It's with your mind.
It is.
And when I finally realized that, Carenna, you got this. You can do this. And that's when I actually started flourishing. Like, that's when I really started healing. Like, when I figured out that I really, really can do this thing. And although it is scary, it is lonely, I needed that time to myself.
And you know what? One thing you talked about, entertaining people just for the sake. It's not even, these aren't people you really, really want to talk to. It's that thing where you want to be by yourself, but you don't want to be alone. So these people act as fillers. You really don't want them there. You know,
placeholders.
But they fill a void.
Yeah.
And then too, one of the things that we don't like to talk about this, one of the things we hide behind is relationships. Even the relationships that we're in. You know what I'm saying? Like, we hide behind relationships too.
Yeah.
And why it's easy to hide behind relationships more than anything else is because when you're in a relationship where the person is constantly esteeming you, constantly, putting before you those great qualities, which isn't a bad thing. The danger in that is that you forget them areas where you screwed up, where you're constantly being praised. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you're constantly being presented before his or her friends as this great person.
Yeah.
It's like you forget, like, hey, I'm dealing with trauma.
Yeah, real bad trauma.
Right. But and then at some point, the mask don't feel like a mask no more. It don't feel like a mask no more. It really it feel like a part of your outfit, like how you put on your shirt, pants, socks, shoes,
like
underclothes.
Yep.
Here come the mask.
Yeah, because if it's not there, if the mask isn't there, you just don't feel right.
You don't, but you know what? Part of what healing is, you have to. You talk about you don't feel right. That's part of the process. Being uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're going through healing, there's nobody to praise you during those times.
Nope.
There's nobody to tell you, no, you ain't that bad. No, healing tells you, no, you screwed up. You need help. I don't care what the world perceive you as, and that was something I had to go through because, like, you and I are creatives. So it's easy for us to hide behind our gifts and talents. Like, I've always been a great speaker. I've always did a great job of being able to articulate my thoughts well and quickly. So as depressed as I was at times, so much so it led me to a psych ward. Remember, we was at Motor City. I had a mental meltdown.
Yeah.
Because even behind your gifts only works for so long.
For so long.
Because there's always, man, and thank God for the people who see you beyond your gifts.
Wow.
Because those are the people who say, yeah, Carenna, you're very beautiful, very smart, you know what I'm saying, educated, ambitious, but what's wrong? See, they not moved by the shit that the world is moved by.
It say it's something deeper.
What's going on?
Yep, it's something deeper. And that was my next question. It was like, do you heal in silence, or do you need a community?
I think that what I've learned, be very careful about who you communicate with during those times. Because you got to understand, you are literally being born again.
Right.
Because healing involves you patching wounds that you didn't inflict.
Wow.
You're having to correct things, have to straighten out things that you wasn't responsible for making crooked. Okay? It's about forcing yourself to bring out the best in you when you wasn't responsible for all the ill things that was deposited into you. You know what I'm saying? You literally have to make right what you didn't make wrong. Wow. So when you talk about healing in private, or in the company of other people, you have to guard carefully who you talk to. Why? Because everybody who you talk to has to reinforce the healing process that you're on. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes they can make it worse.
And they can make it worse. Because you have people, nobody likes to remind you of how broken you were than the person who's broken. Nobody likes to remind you of how depressed and how downtrodden you were than a person who is presently depressed and downtrodden. You know what I'm saying? And you got to understand what's going on during the healing process. You're filtering all those things out of you. You know what I'm saying? Thank God what was put in you didn't kill you. But you're in a very fragile situation because it's sort of like,
praise God.
If you break
That's
your
amazing.
arm, a lot of us, in sports, they teach them to play with their injuries. They teach. They give them just enough pills to take away the pain momentarily. You know what I'm saying? They give them a cast that's thick enough to guard their wounds, but still will allow for them to be flexible enough to get in the game and still play.
Wow. They
You know
don't
what I'm
allow them to heal.
They don't allow them to heal. So, and because they don't, you owe it to you to give you that time to heal. See, we've been taught to play through the pain. Get up, patch it up, keep going.
Be quiet. It's okay. Don't cry.
And that's
got
why
this.
we're in the position that we're in now. In our mid 30s, late 30s, early 40s, battling trauma that we should have dealt with in our 20s.
Yeah.
Because they told us to play through the pain. Nobody told us to sit it out. Sit this one out.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying?
And then nobody told us that it was okay to be hurt. It was okay to cry. It was okay to grieve or mourn. Nobody told us that because they said it's never okay.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this for us, like for me, just for the sake of transparency. When you asked like earlier, what are some of the things I'm noticing between now and then, between now and the guy I was then? One of the things I'm noticing, I'm softening up so much, so I'm wearing brighter colors.
He got on pink, y'all.
And this wasn't planned. Like I didn't know she was wearing that. Like this wasn't planned.
We just think like that. We just that connected.
But growing up, I've been taught that to be vulnerable is to be weak. To be sensitive is to be weak. To be empathetic is to be weak.
I hate
that.
To
cry is to be weak. So you take that, you know what I'm saying, and it carries over into adulthood, and you really convince yourself that you're just this stoic, aggressive person when you're really not. You're really at heart a softie. But for the sake of appearing weak, you make yourself appear hard and tough.
And I think a lot of men deal with that. I just seen somebody post that last night on TikTok, and he was just basically like, it's so hard for us to talk about our feelings because we are being judged.
We're being judged, and our feelings aren't being validated. And we tend to feel like, does it even matter? Who really gives a shit?
And I hate that because I want my kings to feel heard.
Let me tell you, let me let you in on something, right? The greatest communication consists of, the greatest communicators aren't necessarily the greatest speakers. The greatest communicators are the greatest listeners.
Wow.
Give him space to be able to talk uninterrupted and without judgment. Okay? And no matter what he's going through, take it from me, sis. No matter what he's going through, he will always find his way back to you because he knows even if this person isn't acknowledging my feelings, or if this person is dismissing it, or if this person is causing me to feel like my feelings aren't validated, I know if this person not going to do nothing else, they're going to listen. Give them space to be able to talk because a lot of us don't have that.
Yeah.
We don't, Yeah. So a great communicator is great listener.
Crazy because a lot of times people wonder, like, they be like, oh, you never like.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
People wonder, like, they be like, oh, you never like in relationships. You never tell me anything. You never talk to me. But like we said, some women don't give them that space to open up. They immediately just go crazy on them or just don't want to hear what they have to say. And it makes me feel kind of sad because it's like they deserve to be heard. Men deserve to be cared for and listened to as well. So I feel like, ladies, come on, y'all, let's open up a little bit and just be a listening ear to our men. I know nobody's perfect. We got to work on things, but communication is key.
And I would say, before we move to our next point, in keeping with the theme of healing, a lot of our inability as men to express our feelings in a healthy way comes from, in most cases, our dysfunctional relationships with our mothers. Because our mothers was the first person to dismiss us. And it's hard for a man, and I'm gonna be transparent, I haven't talked to my mother in 2 years.
Wow, I didn't know that. You ain't tell me that.
I haven't talked to my mother in 2 years. I would say, with my understanding of what love is, do I love her? Yes. As warped as my understanding is, I'm coming into a new understanding of what love is. But for a lot of us men, our mothers was the first woman to betray us. That was the first woman to lie to us. That was the first person who we learned not to trust. That was the first person who we learned not to trust our secrets with. That was the first person we learned not to trust our heart with. That was the first person we learned not to trust our minds with. So with that, you have to be sympathetic, because if the woman who brought me into this world is responsible for a lot of the trauma I'm dealing with, then it ain't too much I can't put past you. Mm-hmm. And men who, even me, like we want reasons to love our mothers. You know what I'm saying? We really do. Like we want reasons to love the women who we date, but it's hard to even have a successful relationship. You're talking me, 2 relationships, 2 marriages, you know what I'm saying, that crumble because it's very hard, because your mother becomes the modelhood for womanhood. She becomes the model for womanhood in many of our eyes. And when that view is disrupted, it's so hard to get it back. And it's hard to get it back, and it's hard to find it in somebody else. Wow. Which adds to the drama, which once again brings us to this place where we're in our 40s, trying to heal from stuff at 40 that we should have dealt with in our teenage years and 20s.
So question, should women, while they're dating, should women look for men who have great relationships with their mothers?
I would say you can look for whatever you want. Now, just understand that a man, no man just wakes up and decides, I don't want to deal with my mother. If there's ever a man who's made a conscious decision to not engage with his mother, he's doing it for the purpose of protecting himself. So just know that, number one, he's doing it for the purpose of protecting himself. Number two, try to understand what he's protecting himself from.
Okay.
What are you protecting yourself from? Because if you understand what he's protecting himself from, you will be careful not to inflict the same harm on him that he escaped by not communicating with his mother. Okay? It doesn't make him a bad guy.
Right.
He reserves the right to guard his peace. Mm-hmm. Even if the person who's disrupting his peace, just so happens to be the woman who birthed him into this world. So I would say it's not as important to look for a man who has a healthy relationship with his mother. Mm-hmm. Look, if by chance you find him, great. But if by chance you don't, look for a man who's made a conscious decision to heal from whatever pain his mother has caused him.
Okay.
That's more realistic.
Okay.
Look for, and for years, I wasn't on that hill. I just embarked on this journey months ago.
Okay. Yeah.
I just embarked on this journey months ago.
So this is new.
This whole healing thing is new to me. Mm-hmm. I'm loving it.
You're doing amazing.
Oh my God. You can only
doing so good. I already know it's tough though. I know.
Oh my goodness.
I know. It's been, within the last year, I really tapped into my healing as well from different things, but personally, relationships. For me, when it comes to males, I haven't came in contact with a male that hasn't done me wrong. So when it comes to healing, I have to heal in that area, but also, like you said, it stems from like your parents. My father, I love my father. Like he's actively in my life now as an adult. When I was a kid, he was kind of like in and out. He stayed in another state. But I had to really recently think to myself, I feel like if he was in my life more growing up, it would have been red flags that I would have seen early on while dating, and I wouldn't had to go through what I went through.
And I'm gonna say this from a male perspective. We are well aware when we meet a woman who has daddy issues. I don't care what you do. There's no way you can hide that from a man who you got some straight airheads out here. Okay, they don't even got no meat in their brain. It's just air and darkness up there, But when you cross paths with a man who's been through some things, who's insightful, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can't hide that. You can't hide that.
How can you tell?
Well, generally, from my experiences, women who deal with issues of not having a father there are some of the most insecure women you will cross paths with. Okay, that's number one.
I agree.
Number one, they're not looking for you to husband them. They're looking for you to father them. You know what I'm saying? So their love becomes performance-based. And I'm not saying this applies across the board. This is just from my experience. That woman's love becomes performance-based. So it's not so much how you make her feel. You know, she immediately puts you in that role that her daddy should have occupied, which is provide for, which means no matter what she's dealing with, you're supposed to have an answer. You're supposed to have a remedy, you know, and it's unfair to the man because he himself, it probably came from a household where he didn't have a father. But you would never consider that because the fact that he never had a father is not your problem. You're dealing with the pain of not having yours.
Yeah. He should have. You can do better than what your own parents had done for you.
But you know that. But even to be able to do better, that requires tools that we don't have.
Right. That's why it's so hard for us right now because we're trying to break these generational curses.
We're trying to break them, and it's sort of like, you know, we're being told to assemble machinery without an instruction manual. You know, we're being thrown in the shed and saying repair that without any knowledge as to how machinery works, nor the tool. And even if we had the tools, we wouldn't even know how to use it.
It's like you're starting from scratch.
That's why I said you're literally being born again.
So we're basically we're creating the table.
Yes.
We're not sitting down at the table that's already created and made for us. We starting all over. And like you said, it's later on in our lives. And it's like, sometimes I feel like, dang, I wish I would have known this sooner.
Yeah.
But I can't reverse time. I can't turn the clock back. So all I can do is, with what I know now, just be a better person.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something my mother's sister told me, Brianna. She was the first person who logged on. And she said, Terence, you are responsible for giving yourself those things that your parents didn't give you. Remember what I said about healing? You know, healing involves you repairing those things that you didn't break. You know, it involves you repairing those things you didn't break, even your heart.
Wow.
Even your heart.
Wow.
Healing involves repairing those things that you didn't break, and that includes your heart.
That's deep. That is so deep.
And because the task is so momentous, that's why people run away from it. You know, it's like you said, you wish you would have known those things sooner. Remember growing up, you know, we all been to that one house that had the good dishes off in the cabinet, right?
Yeah.
Right? We saw the spoons, the forks, the plates, but how many of us went to a house where they pulled them out, set them on the table, and showed us, this is the fork, this is your salad fork, this is your soup spoon. The small dessert plate goes over here. Okay, when you're done eating, the napkin goes on top to show the server that you're done. And that's exactly what happened to us. You know, we were presented with tools, but not taught how to use them.
Yes. So, T, how do you show yourself grace today?
Wow. I remember I used to be so hard on myself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I used to have to tell them, like, you doing so good. Just calm down. Like, it's going to be all right. Even now, like, he's way better now, y'all. Like, he's so reserved. Like, he be chilling. Like, he really kind of be my therapist sometimes. Like, that's a compliment for somebody to be like, said that, for me to say that somebody is like my therapist, that means he seemed like he got it going on, y'all. Right?
Seemed like. Because I seem like, but I would say, how did I learn to give myself more grace? At some point, I realized, Terence, if God was going to, as bad as you think you are, if you was as bad as you thought you were in the eyes of God, He would have rid this earth for you a long time ago. You're not as bad as you think you are. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we perpetuate things against ourselves that others have, which means if you grew up with somebody speaking negative over you, it gets to a point where they don't have to do it no more. You start doing it to yourself. You start speaking negative over yourself.
Yes.
You don't even need their help no more. You doing
yes.
it. So when I talk about
and be trying to beat them to it too.
Right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
talk about
and be trying to beat them to it too.
Right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hold up. I'm stupid. I'm full of shit. You ain't gotta say it. You know what I'm saying? I'm every warp, evil thing you can imagine. Let me get it out.
This look ugly on me. My hair is ugly.
Save your breath. I got this.
I can't do that.
But no, I'll tell you, just realizing, like, Terence, you okay?
Yeah.
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And one thing I said, giving yourself those things your parents didn't give you. That was one of the things I choose to give myself and my parents didn't give me.
Give yourself your flowers.
And I literally got flowers on the back of my sweatshirt.
He does, y'all.
I turn around. I literally got them on the back of my sweatshirt. Like, I give myself my flowers.
Yes.
I got it right here on my. I give it to myself.
That's a nice sweater too.
Actually, one of my brothers is Jayla Shea Bread.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you the link to the website.
All right, yeah, give us the link.
Matter of fact, give me your size. I'm gonna order you one.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
Go to the website.
Okay.
Let me know which one you want.
Okay.
Pick your size.
Yeah, that's dope. That's nice.
Yeah.
So I would like to really talk about divine friendships and the different seasons that they go through. My first question is, why do you think our friendship stood the test of time?
Because we're authentic, number one.
Yes.
Number two, I never made you feel like you ever had something to prove to me.
Mm-hmm.
You never made me feel like I ever had something to prove to you. And I tell people this, when you're lying to everybody else, you need those people to whom you can tell the truth.
Yes.
When you're strong with everybody else, you need those people with whom you can be weak. Mm-hmm. And I always allowed you to be weak with me.
Yeah.
I've always allowed for you to tell me the truth and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know some big personal things about each other that we would never put out there.
Yeah.
But we created room for each other to be that to each other.
Yeah.
And that's why when there were periods we didn't talk, like you said, we caught and picked right back up where we left off.
Yeah.
Because genuine friendships don't evaporate like
it doesn't fade. It doesn't fade.
And
we've never gotten into an argument or any type of disagreement.
Never.
It's been so smooth, like it's been easy. And I really don't. I can count on my hand how many friendships I have like this. It's really, really hard to find genuine people. So, what's the difference between a seasonal friend and a divine connection?
Well, in my modest opinion, I think I want to start with a divine connection. There's a natural attraction. I'm not talking about sexual nothing like that, but there's a natural attraction there that you just can't explain, and there's an understanding that you all have of one another without even trying to convince nobody of anything. I think divine connections happen organically. It's not something you're looking for. It's just something that happens. And when it comes to people who are seasonal, I don't think it hurts us that they're seasonal. I think we recognize that. I think the difficult part is understanding when the seasons change.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes the seasons, there's a smooth transition. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's an abrupt transition. But I think this is how you know when it's seasonal. Depending on what your boundaries are, and it's different for different people. Mm-hmm. Depending on what your boundary is, when that's crossed, that's how you know it's time to separate.
Yes.
Depending on what your boundaries are.
Oh my God.
You may have a tolerance for things that I may not have a tolerance for, and vice versa. But a clear indication is when you establish your boundaries and when they're crossed, because a person who respects the connection will never ever purposely and willingly, step on, cross those boundaries. There's a respect there. Mm-hmm. Even though you all may argue, there may be a fallout because nobody is perfect, but even when they err, they're willing to apologize and do whatever is humanly possible to make it right because they
Yes.
value it that much.
Wow, that's powerful. So let's talk of purpose, creativity, and God's timing. How did poetry become part of your healing?
Wow. I think that for me, from out of our pain comes our creative genius.
Mm.
From out of our despair comes our creative genius. And I think poetry for me allowed for me to tell a story, to be expressive without doing damage to myself or anybody else.
Mm.
I think that's what it is. Having a love for something aids in the healing process. Because one thing I know about poetry, unlike certain people I know, poetry ain't gonna hurt me.
No.
It ain't gonna do me wrong. It's only going to serve me. You know what I'm saying?
It's gonna help others
It's
too.
gonna help others. It would never betray me,
Hmm.
and it loves me back.
Wow, that's deep.
And it loves me back.
When did you realize your gift was also therapy?
I'm gonna tell you something that happened. This one we were still at Motor City. I don't know if you remember this guy. His name was he was a minister. His name was Tyrone. He worked day shift. I think his name was Tyrone.
What department?
Security.
Oh, okay.
If you've seen his face, you know exactly what
Okay.
I'm talking about. There's this poem that I wrote called Black Girl Loss. At the time, I wrote it up under a different title,
Mm-hmm.
and it was called She Who Overcame. And Tyrone, he invited me to his church. This is when I knew my poetry was therapy. He invited me to his church. And then Black Girl Lost, for those who've heard it, I tell the story of a lost black girl, grew up in the city of Detroit, suffered some of the most horrendous things you could imagine: sexual abuse, verbal abuse, dealt with depression. And by way of the grace of God and her own willingness to succeed, became a young lady who inspired millions of other young black girls.
Wow.
But I did this poem at that church. And this is the first time I've ever seen a reaction like this. I was doing a poem and I got to talking about the part where she was being molested.
Mm.
And it was this young girl, she had to be no more than 13. She started crying.
Aww.
And her tear, and I'm trying
just
to
gave me
deliver my
chills.
content. I'm like, what the heck is going on? They literally had to take her out of the church.
Aww.
And when I saw that,
That was her story.
and not only did I know I was telling her story, but that's when I knew my poetry was therapy. When I saw that little girl crying.
Wow.
When I
And
saw that.
And you probably healed a lot inside of her.
And the thing is, for me, sis, I'm just enjoying the creativity aspect of it. I'm not thinking, this about to impact somebody.
Your gift
right?
is bigger than you. And sometimes we don't understand that because we're just doing what we love. And that's so deep, because when we decide to stop our gift and we just do like basic jobs and this and that, we're really doing a disservice to ourselves and to the world. And this is why you have to continue to do what your God-given purpose is.
You do a greater disservice to the world than to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing about you doing a greater disservice, why I say you're doing a greater disservice to the world, is because there's so many people whose healing is connected to your gift.
Yes.
There's so many people there's people out there who will not garner the strength to overcome their depression until they listen to your podcast.
And I've heard that before.
There are some people who, if they don't listen to your podcast, will not be here next year.
Wow. You about to make me cry. That's deep.
It's real, though.
That's powerful.
There are some women who, if you stop today, they die tomorrow.
Wow.
There's nothing God has ever given man on this earth that was reserved only for the man to whom he gave it. And that includes the gospel. I'll say that again. There is nothing God has ever given man that was ever reserved just for the man to whom he gave it. Nothing. When he gave Jesus life, he didn't even give Jesus life for the sake of preserving it for himself. He gave his life so that he could sacrifice it so that other lives could be spared. Wow. That's how God does things. And I ain't even no preacher.
Right. But you know the word.
You know
the word.
But I've skimmed through the Bible a few times. So that's why I say you do a greater disservice to the world and to yourself, because you could still live and not operate in your gift. But there's some other people who can't.
Wow. So what has God revealed to you in this season about who you are?
And I got some ugly ways about myself.
Wow.
That as beautiful of a man as I would like to think I am, I got some ugly ways about myself. Number one. Number two, and until my healing is sufficient enough to allow for me to have a successful relationship, I have and I will continue, and it's just me being transparent because it's just so true. I have and I will continue to damage any woman who comes into my life until my healing is, because your healing is never complete.
That's real.
At some point, it will become sufficient enough for you to love somebody else in a healthy manner. So he showed me just how ugly I am, and that how when you're not healed, the damage you cause other people along the way.
That's powerful. And for me as a woman who is very tired of being hurt, especially by men, and I decided to be celibate a year ago. It'll be a year next month, December 20th, when I decided to really just marry myself. And I'm just like, get closer to God and just heal, because I can't really heal and still mess with people who decides that I don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Who decides that I don't matter. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're picking at the wound, and it's not able to heal because you keep picking at it. You're supposed to take be able to let the air get to it, let it heal by itself. And so I took a vow to myself, and I said, Carenna, stay single until you heal, until you fully heal, and until God sends you someone who has healed themselves.
Let me add to that. Not only do I agree, there's no healing yourself without loving yourself. Let me throw something out there. You got 2 daughters, right?
Yes.
Two beautiful daughters.
Thank you.
If you were outside right now and somebody tried to take one of your children, imagine the fight that you will put up to protect your child, right?
Yeah.
Just think about it for 2 seconds. With that same energy, protect yourself.
Amen. And I am.
Protect yourself, because there's no healing yourself without loving yourself. And so we're learning how to heal. We're learning how to love. That's a whole nother topic.
That's why I got to be a series, y'all. It's a whole series.
That's a whole nother topic.
Listen, we got a lot to,
we got a lot to unpack, because there's no healing of self without loving yourself. Because in order to embark on that journey, there has to be some type of love you got for you anyway.
Yeah.
To be able to look at you and say, you know what, you better than this.
And it's crazy because like somebody from my past, I seen yesterday at the casino. I had a great time, and he told me, he was like, "You really be lowering your standards," and I thought about it, like I really do. I lower my standards because at the time I didn't know my own worth, so that's why I allowed men to run over me and do what they wanted to do to me, because I didn't know who I was. Now I do, but it took me a long time. I'm 33. It took me a long time to be like, Carenna, you're that deal. You're beautiful. And like, even now, it's been a year. I'm getting back to myself. I've lost 50 pounds, y'all. I'm getting it together. I'm glowing and I'm growing, and I feel the best that I've ever felt in a long time. So when I tell you healing is like the best thing to do, it's the best thing. Because
even, and we got to touch on that too, if not on this episode, but the fitness part of it. Like I lost 47 pounds. Like I sent my sister some pictures, and she's like, I ain't know you was ever that big. I was 247 at one time.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? 240, I'm 198 now, but even the fitness journey.
And he looking good. He looking good,
and
yeah.
look, another reason why people don't do it is because of the work that it requires.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because one thing you can't do about the process, it doesn't allow for you to cheat it. Even with this healing process. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There's no cheat code to this thing.
It's not.
You have to literally put yourself through the fire.
Wow.
You have to put yourself through the fire. You know, but I'm just convinced that it's as beautiful as it is ugly.
It is.
You know, so
it is. What truth are you standing on today before we close? And whatever else you want to say about healing, you can do that.
What truth am I standing on today? What truth am I standing on today? I would say it's simply this. I am who I say I am.
Yes, I got to clap.
I am whoever Terence tells me I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I am. That's who I operate in. You know, I truly believe, and there was a time I didn't. I truly believe now that I am worthy of every good thing that comes my way.
Yes,
I am worthy of every good relationship that I have. I am worthy of all the good that's given to me by others. I'm also worthy of all the good that I decide to give me.
Wow.
That truth, yeah, I am whoever I say I am.
Yeah.
And I no longer fear losing anybody.
Wow. Only yourself.
Only and I've lost them too many times.
You ain't losing them again.
And I ain't gonna lose them again. You know, I ain't gonna lose them again. You know, but I think one of the worst things about losing yourself is not even knowing that you're lost.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize that until you go in search of yourself.
Yeah, you feel better. You be like, dang, this is how it's supposed to feel.
I'm supposed to love myself. I'm supposed to, when somebody, if you can muscle up the nerve to say fuck me, then I'm supposed to be able to muscle up the nerve to say, well, fuck you back.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, okay. You know, I'm supposed to be willing to step away from whatever I feel like don't serve me. But I'm supposed to be establishing boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And some of this shit we supposed to have walked away from a
long time ago. We seen the red flags, we turned them green. It was so much that we endured in this lifetime. But you know what? I'm happy to say that we're here, we're growing, and we glowing. Yeah. And can't nobody stop this. Can't nobody take us back to what we climbed out of.
And I want to say this, and this is kind of off topic, but I just feel led to say it. You know, lately on TikTok, we've been seeing a lot of videos with people basically casting the church in a bad light, and a lot of churches been deserving of it.
Yeah,
I'm not here.
Some of them are.
I'm not here to defend them. I'm not here to defend none of the churches. Okay? Trust me, because if anybody knows me, you know the things I've suffered in life. There's two groups of people whose opinions of me don't matter, and it's not an insult to nobody. It's my family and the church. You know what I'm saying? If it's two groups of people whose opinions of me I don't give a damn about, because of like I got family members who I rock with, who I love. You know what I'm saying? I got people in the church who I rock with and who I love. But don't ever, my family in the church, the opinions of me just don't matter. But I will say this, the responsibility that the new ministers have now is simply this, is to restore credibility to the faith. The church has lost credibility on all fronts. You know, it has lost credibility on all fronts. So I would say for those who have a desire to get into ministry, understand what you're getting into. The responsibility of the people operating in ministry now is to restore credibility to the faith. If you're getting into it for any other reason, because that's what needs to happen. So don't get into it thinking I'm going to get rich. Don't get into it, or I'm going to get some properties, because, you know, the church is a business. Yeah. People profit. Tax free. And it's a business that people profit off of. That's a whole other topic we touch on. But during this season, what needs to happen is credibility needs to be restored to the faith, because the preachers of old, they brought the church to the current state that it's in, and it's going to take a whole new group of it's going to take a whole new group of ministers and leaders to restore the credibility of the church and faith in the church that people once had. And I'm no preacher, I'm no minister. I don't have no vested interest in nobody's church. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I just feel led to say that because there are still people out there who believe strongly in what the church teaches.
And I can agree with that. Someone who is a minister in training, I will be ordained next year to be a minister. I can really thank you. I can agree with Terence on that. Like, even though I am in the church, I've been running from this calling forever because of how the church is. It's people who have done me wrong in the church. It's been first ladies that done said crazy things to me, but I didn't allow church hurt to consume me. I just keep going and read the Bible for yourself. Stop just believing everything that you hear a preacher get up on the stage and say. You need to understand the word for yourself. And when I'm speaking and I'm actually encouraging, it just happens. I'm always telling people about God, how good God is, because that's who I am. I've been raised in the church all my life, and I've been God-fearing all of my life. So yes, be careful as well, but also know that God is amazing. I just love God. He is so good to me. And just be mindful that it is some ministers, pastors that ain't always there. Ain't always there for you. But we, like you said, this is gonna be a whole series, so we'll talk about a lot of other stuff. But thank you so much for coming on the show. Long overdue. This is long overdue.
And let me tell you, we got about 3 more minutes.
Yes.
Said, whenever we used to do the Instagram Live and Facebook Live, people will always ask about us, like, when y'all coming back? When y'all, who is that guy? You know what I'm saying? Because what people don't know is that these are conversations we have every single day.
Every day. And you need these type of conversations.
We don't force these conversations just for platforms like this.
Right.
You know, but yeah, we
real.
We got to end it, you know what I'm saying? But
can you give them your social where they can follow you?
TikTok, Terence _Demien _Harris, and I have my poetry website, poetterencedemienharris.com. TerrenceDemienHarris.com. poetterencedemienharris.com. Go to the site, subscribe. I got a lot of content that I've been filming that's going to be uploaded early next year.
Thank you so much for listening, family. I hope this conversation blessed you the way it blessed us. Healing isn't a straight line, it's a journey, and you don't have to walk it alone. Thank you to my brother Terence Demien Harris for being open, transparent, and real with us today. Share this episode with someone who needs it, and as always, stay encouraged, stay growing, and remember, on this journey, it gets real. I'll talk to you guys soon. Stay tuned because we're doing a series. So I don't know how often we're going to do it. We're going to get our schedules together and we're going to come back with some more topics. And it's probably going to more than likely center around healing, but I'm not too sure. But we're going to talk about
Our
it.
conversations go
in
multitude of different directions.
We can talk all day long.
Right.
But thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys later.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai